Greetings, it's Cam. We back once again, dropping more jewels on you. You know how we do this. Let's go ahead and raise some energy up before we get started. All right, now today's video, we're gonna be talking about how does our hair relate to our consciousness. But before we do that, let's talk about a couple things here. Uh, the first thing is that we here in Turtle Island, the hills of North America, we understand that who we are and what we are has been stolen from us, and we have forgotten who we are. Now we are coming back into memory of self, and we know that we are Hebrews. We are the original people of the prophecy. The prophecy being the 400 years of enslavement. No other set of Hebrews on the planet has fit that prophecy. So now I ask, as Hebrew, how can we be anti-Semitic? Okay? Just think about that. We are the original Hebrews, but every time we say something in regards to who we are or what we are, we call anti-Semitic. We're the original Semites, the original hybrids on this planet. Okay? So I'm going to leave it there. So now, we need to understand the concept that our hair directly relates to our level of consciousness. We understand in the 70s, it was a big conscious movement based upon some things that was going on within the solar system. If you ever get a chance, you need to check out the 1970s Syrian experiment with what was going on with the sun. I'll do a video on that later to go more in depth so you can see what was going on with the sun. So the brotherhood and sisterhood of the light that traverses the cosmos understood that if the sun would have graduated as it was trying to do in the 70s, would nobody be here. Even us melanated ones would have been fried because we had not reached a level of Christ consciousness. So what we saw in the 70s, if you go back and look at the music from the 70s and look at the lyrics, you will see all the metaphysical triggers to help awake consciousness was all throughout the music. All types of music. At that time, what also was going on is the Hebrews, black people, was coming into consciousness of black is beautiful. And we represented that with our afros. And that was an explosion of consciousness. Every time we Hebrews have an explosion of consciousness, it is associated with our hair. When we got to the 90s, when it came into spiritual consciousness, that's when you begin to see people begin to lock their hair. What's the purpose of the lock? Okay? Why are so many people locking their hair? Every time we do something in mass, It is always a spiritual connotation behind what we do in mass. Every fad we have represents consciousness on some level. Okay? So we need to understand that our hair is referred to what's called 9-ether hair. It's shaped like a 9. It is designed to draw in all of the energy around us. If you did the exercises in the last video where you looked into the clear blue sky, you will see those particles that are shaped like pieces of your RNA and your DNA. It's shaped just like your hair. Whoop-de-whoop, right? Whoop-de-whoop-de-whoop, right? So we need to understand that there is a direct relationship between our hair and our level of consciousness. This is why we begin to see more and more sisters go natural. And when you go natural, they can't handle it. Look at what is going on in these schools, in these jobs, when your hair goes natural. Your hair represents your level of consciousness. It's directly related. We see the young brothers now, those who don't lock, let the hair grow out and be free. Let it be free. Your locks are more than just locks. They are cosmic antennas for God energy. Okay? So, what we're going to do is we're going to go into the Bible. And people will say, well, why use the Bible? Well, let me say this. I've studied all the ancient peoples across all the ancient world. Ancient Africa, India, Asia, South America. And in studying all the ancient cultures of the world, what I realized was that in order to seek truth, you have to study all the ancient indigenous cultures on every continent. Remember the Tower of Babel. All right? So every ancient peoples had a piece of the puzzle. This is key that you understand this. But my people been beat over the head with the Bible. That's all they know. They don't know the Book of the Dead. They don't know the Vedics. They don't know the Mahabharata. They don't know the all these Eastern books. Right? All we know is the Bible. So I use the Bible because my people can only relate to the Bible. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into the Bible and show you some things that regards to your hair. And I want you also to understand this. When I was growing up, immersed in the Christian church, before I knew I was conscious, and I grew up reading the book. I read the book. But the Old Testament sat well with me. The New Testament did not. I never felt that the New Testament was legitimate. Okay? Now, let's look at the Old Testament as Hebrew. The New Testament is Christianity. What is Hebrew, which is not a religion? Hebrew is a culture. The Old Testament is a show you how a Hebrew is supposed to live. It is not a law. The law is how you live. You don't try to live the law. The law is how you live. You don't try to live the law. The Old Testament has always been in conflict with the New Testament. That's because you're dealing with apples and oranges. We couldn't see this when our third eye was not open. Now that the third eye is open, so wait a minute. Old Testament and New Testament have no business being in the same book. If you read the New Testament, you will see when the Greeks and the Romans took over, they went through and burned Israelite temples. Christians been at war with Hebrews for 2,000 years. It was Christians that enslaved Hebrews here in Turtle Island. So what I'm saying is, once you begin to wake up, you can see the whoop-de-whoop that they tried to do with you with this thing called the Bible. Right? But even though they did the whoop-de-whoop with it, truth still's in there. Right? So, we don't follow the Old Testament. We believe eye for eye, tooth for tooth. You kill my mom, I'm going to kill yours. Right? We don't believe that turn the other cheek crap. In ancient Egypt, there was a goddess, Ma'at. M-A-A-T. Ma'at was a goddess that's represented by the balance, the scales, the balance. So every time you go into the courthouse and you see the scales, that's Ma'at. Ma'at represents balance. You do to me, I'm going to do to you. That's in all the ancient world. That was the premise. Eye for eye, tooth for tooth. Then they came with this crap, with this New Testament bull crap, turn the other cheek. No. No, we ain't turning no cheek. If you slap the shit out of me, I'm going to slap the shit out of you. Right? All right. So, we're going to deal with the Old Testament. When you study the Old Testament, you will see a lot of the Old Testament is in line with the ancient Kemetic mythology. Okay? So, let's move forward, and I'm going to show you some things right quick. All right? All right, now here we're dealing with Numbers chapter 6. Verses 1 through 12. And as we see here, the Lord is speaking to Moses. And basically what he's telling him is when one makes a vow, to make a vow to separate themselves. What is it talking about? As a Hebrew, the Nazarite is the one who takes the vow to get to know themselves. In order to get to know yourself, you have to separate yourselves from this world. To separate themselves unto the Lord, you have to go out in the wilderness to get to know yourself. When you make a vow, that means you're going to make a change in your life. You're going to get to know yourself. Well, there's some things that go along with that, right? So, it says, he said, separate himself from wine, strong drink, and shall drink no vinegar of wine, or vinegar of strong drink. Neither shall he drink any liquor of grapes, nor eat moist grapes or dried. All the days of his separation he shall eat nothing that is made of wine from the vine tree, from the kernel, from the husk. All the days of this vow of separation there shall no razor come upon his head until the day be fulfilled. What is it talking about? Once you make a vow to make a vow, what you're doing, your hair is part of your spirituality. And when you put chemicals on your hair, you separate yourself from the God within you. So what it's saying is, when you make that vow, to make a vow, you're not supposed to cut your hair. So, all these young people out here now wearing these locks, have they made a vow to make a vow? If not, then what we see is the subconscious nature is the spirit, the subconscious nature is moving them to a position to where they can, in some shape, form, or fashion, be able to connect with the self, even though they are not conscious of these acts. All right? So that's letting you know that they are guided by the Spirit. Okay? So, himself unto the Lord, he shall be holy, and shall not let the locks of his hair, grow. Now, let me say this. They are locks. They are not dreadlocks. Dread came in with the colonizer. Look up the definition of the word dread. All right? So when I be out and people be like, yo, dread, I just ignore them because we don't understand our programming of self-hatred. That's That's one of those self-hating programs. They're not dreadlocks. They are locks. You don't see them. You see dreadlocks in here, do you? Locks. Okay? So, I want y'all to go and read through this and understand that locking your hair is not a fad. It is something to elevate you into your spirituality. All right? So now let's look at this next. We're going over here to the book of Judges, chapter 16. And this is a story of Samson, right? So, when Samson, first of all, let's look at here. Samson, it is said, let's look down here, what, that's, 13. And Samson said, Delilah said unto Samson, hitherto thou hast mocked me, told me lies, tell me where thou mightest be bound. He said unto her, if thou weavest the 7 locks of my head with the web. Samson had 7 locks of hair on his head. And the web meaning something that will cover you and disconnect you from the energies that your locks draw in. Alright? So we're going to go down here. So Delilah keep messing with him. Basically Delilah like, oh, look, we done slept together, did all this stuff together, but you refuse to tell me the secret of your strength. Right? And he told her that he told her all his heart. He said unto her, that hath no razor come upon my head, for I have been a Nazarite unto God from my mother's womb. If I be shaven, then my strength will go from me, and I shall become weak like any other man. Alright, so now what I'm trying to get you to understand then, Samson's strength was from the 7 locks of hair on his head. The locks is what gave Samson the strength, and it's not physical strength, it is spiritual strength. Alright? So, you use your locks to help you to get to know yourself, raise your spirit, raise your vibratory rate to obtain that Christ within you. You were born with the anointing, which is the pineal gland, aka God gland, okay? So we need to understand that when you lock your hair, and another thing is locks are like sponges. They absorb positive and negative energy. This is why you will see people, when they go out in public, they cover their locks to protect themselves from all the negative energy around us. When you, as a spiritual man, when you leave your house and you go out into this vicious, evil world, this is a metaphor for Daniel in the lion's den. Right? And with the technology now, the lion's den is now even inside your house through the technology, the TVs, the cell phones. So you always Daniel in the lion's den. All right? So let's move forward. So now we know knowledge is power. Right? Knowledge of your hair and understanding of your hair gives you power. Knowledge of self is power. You cannot become captain of your ship if you have no knowledge of self. What I'm talking about. What I'm saying is, you must know how your cells work, how the neurons work, how your chakras work, how the energy runs through meridians in your body. You know, every organ and gland in your body has a certain time period of the day where it regenerates. What we're talking about is rebuilding of the Temple of Solomon. Solomon represents wisdom. This is the temple. Rebuilding of the Temple of Solomon on the land. See, we have people that are looking for the Temple of Solomon to be rebuilt in Israel. Right? People, the land, this is Israel. Alright? There's not talking about a piece of land over there where them fake ass Jews live. Israel is the land. When we come back to Israel, this is Israel, right? In order to come back to Israel, you must first rebuild the Temple of Solomon. Rebuilding the Temple of Solomon is learning how to become captain of your ship. This is the temple. How does your energy work? How is the energy created, right? How to breathe properly. How to activate the dormant neuromelanins in your brain. Learn how to regenerate your organs and your glands. Rebuilding of the Temple of Solomon is what I am here to do. That's why you need to go on the website, and the level 1 course is designed to teach you about the temple. That's the level 1 course on the website. Hit the link below. Is designed to rebuild the Temple of Solomon. Knowledge of self. So, knowledge is power. The more you know about how your energy works in your body, the more power you will have. The more you know how the energy works in your body, you begin to open up the first eye, third eye, and can see through the bullshit. Right? So, what we're here to do is resurrect the Temple of Solomon. Not a physical building like they're teaching you in the Bible. Not like they're teaching you those, we'll call them Akasha Nazi, Khazars, those Israelites, fake Jews, right? Not like they're attempting to do over there. Everything we need, everything we're looking for is inside, okay? Do not be fooled by these, we say, exterior interpretations of the book. It's all internal. Anatomy, chemistry, right? Biology, alchemy, right? So, I'm going to leave you with this. You must understand how the energy of your body works. If you want to obtain the cosmic Christ, that's our heritage, you need to understand and get knowledge of self. Get that level 1 course, and we see y'all on the flip side. Peace.